Hey there, it's Dave Altavilla for Hot Hardware here with the all-new Dell Alienware m15 15-inch gaming laptop. It's thinner, smaller, and lighter than the previous generation 15-inch Alienware machine, but it's also more powerful. How does that work? Can it hang with the big dogs? Let's find out next. The first thing you'll notice about the Alienware m15 is that it is thinner and lighter than any Alienware gaming laptop product to hit the market to date. Specifically, it's about 18% lighter than the Alienware 13-inch laptop and about 5 to 12% thinner than that machine, depending on display type. And so it's a much more compact, dense design and follows more the NVIDIA GeForce Max-Q designs we've seen from other manufacturers that have hit the market recently. So again, dense, heavy-duty cooling on board, but in a much more compact, thin and light form factor. Specifically, this machine, the M15, weighs in at 4.78 pounds, so well under that 5-pound weight class, but packed with a lot of horsepower under the hood, which we'll step through for you. Our machine is also powered by an Intel Core i7-8750H 6-core processor with 9 meg of cache and a turbo boost frequency of 4.1 gigahertz. That processor is backed up by 16 gigabytes of DDR4 2666 memory and a pair of 512 gig PCI Express M2 NVMe solid-state drives. Now, Dell Alienware does offer a number of different single and dual storage configurations for the machine, anything from a pair of SSD drives like we have to a hybrid hard drive with SSD boot drive option and even Intel Optane SSD options for storage as well. Graphics, of course, firepower offered by NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1070 Max-Q with 8 gigabytes of GDDR5 in our case, or you can opt for a NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1060 OC with 6 gigabytes of GDDR5 to push the pixels around. And if you pull a few screws from the bottom and the back of the machine, you can remove the all-metal bottom plate of the M15, and voila, you have access to the internals. And as you can see, Alienware keeps things fairly accessible here. You have access to dual SODIMM slots right there. Underneath this heat spreader are a pair of M2 slots for your NVMe PCI Express SSDs. You also get access to the wireless radio NIC. This is a killer 1550 gaming NIC, wireless gaming NIC for packet prioritization of your gaming packets. And then we have a fairly stout 90 watt-hour battery here. There's a 60 watt-hour option as well. And zooming in a little bit closer here on the cooling solution, you can see there is a copper heat pipe and fin sink array with dual 90 blade fans, squirrel cage style fans here that actually pull cool air in from the bottom of the machine and exhaust warm air out from the sides and the back of the machine. So that's their dual intake, dual exhaust airflow design that Alienware calls the Alienware Cryotech version 2.0. It does a very good job actually cooling the machine. We saw very little thermal throttling in our benchmark efforts with the machine, but they do emit a little bit of a whine when under load. As you might expect, you're cooling both the CPU, a 6-core CPU, and that GeForce GTX 1070 GPU. So under gaming workloads, things get a little bit noisy, but nothing too annoying that's out of the question for your average gaming laptop. And again, this cooling solution does a really good job of keeping things in check with very little thermal throttling. Now, in terms of I/O options, on the left side of the machine, you've got a full wired RJ45 gigabit Ethernet port powered by Killer Networks E2500 gaming NIC technology, a USB 3.1 port with power share, and a headphone jack. Also over here in the rear of the machine, you have some side venting for the cooling solution, and up front, you have a side and down firing speaker. And on the right side of the machine, you've got another pair of USB 3.1 ports, some additional venting here for the cooling solution, and another speaker port right up front. But on the back side, that's where all the action is for the machine. Here you've got a lot of I/O options going on. HDMI 2.0 port, DisplayPort 1.3, USB-C, full Thunderbolt 3 port, Alienware graphics amplifier port, and the power jack. Also back here again, you've got some additional venting for the cooling solution. Again, that cool air being pulled in from the bottom and exhausted out the back and the side rear edges. Really good setup, nice and compact, efficient, certainly clean cable management here for the rear I/O ports. Would like to see another USB-C port maybe on the side, but generally speaking, well set up and well configured for the Alienware M15. And of course, the AC adapter. This is the 180 watt power brick option. There's also a 130 watt version as well, but fairly stout, dense power supply, about palm sized for the Alienware M15. Now, in terms of build quality, the Alienware M15 is a really well-built machine. You get a combination of magnesium alloy, aluminum, and plastic materials here used to build the machine, but all put together in a very dense, compact design with great fit and finish and tight tolerances throughout. This is the Epic Silver color. It's a sort of brushed aluminum look and resists fingerprints nicely, I will add. Alienware head logo, of course. Bottom of the machine, again, that is an all aluminum bottom plate with these nice 4 rubber strips for skid and leveling the machine off. Here's all your venting. Just a really well-built, dense machine that weighs in at 4.78 pounds. So for a 15-inch notebook, certainly not too hefty, but just inspires quality in its build and construction and how solid it feels in the hand. Now, the keyboard area is a spacious layout. You've got a full numpad with custom Alien Effects control buttons up here on the top row. It is a soft touch, flat black finish that feels really good. It's, again, very rigid, absolutely no play whatsoever in the keyboard area. Additional venting area here above the keyboard. This is actually a cool air intake. And again, you've got that Alien head logo power button right there. Spacious trackpad, and key travel is a little on the shallow side, I will say that, but these keys have a satisfying spring to them. I would say tactility is good, and if you're okay with chiclet style keyboards, this should not be a problem. It's a pretty solid feeling keyboard all around, and I think you'll get up to speed quickly with the Alienware M15. And of course, as with all Alienware machines, you now get the new Alienware Command Center software package that allows you to configure a number of different things in the machine, but certainly, as always, the RGB lighting and various different zones from the keyboard to the Alien head accents in the machine. You can go ahead and select lighting as you wish from an RGB format, and then you've got Alien Fusion, which allows you to do a little bit of monitoring, CPU, GPU, and even DRAM. And you can also even tweak thermal profiles, so balanced or performance fan profiles, and then configure everything into a game profile that will kick off when you launch a specific game. For example, we've got Rise of the Tomb Raider here detected in our library. We can go ahead and configure fan profiles and lighting combinations to kick off when the game kicks off. So a lot of tools here. We won't dive in too deep with Alienware Command Center, but it's a very powerful software suite to tweak and customize the laptop to your liking, like a good gamer should. So let's talk display. We have the 4K Ultra HD version of the Alienware M15, so 3840 by 2160 resolution, 60 hertz panel, IPS display with 400 nits of brightness with anti-reflective coating. Really great brightness, color saturation, contrast, and pop here. Good viewing angles as well. This is a very flexible display option. It is an upcharge, of course, but a very flexible display option for, let's say, someone that wants the ability to do a little bit more content creation work or office productivity. You have those extra pixels when you need it at 4K, better color fidelity as well at 100% sRGB color gamut coverage. And then, of course, you can scale back that GeForce GTX 1070 when gaming to 1440p or 1080p to keep your frame rates up. Dell also offers a 144 Hz 1080p panel option and a 1080p 60 Hz panel option as well. But all told, some really great display options here for the Alienware M15, strapped into admittedly a little bit of a chunky bezel setup here. Up top, you've got that Alienware angular design and a chunky bezel here, thinner bezels on the side for sure, and then a fairly chunky bezel on the bottom. Also, that bezel is finished with a glossy black finish, glossy plastic, and I would say it looks great when it's clean, but it may not wear as well over time, and certainly you need to keep it wiped down with a microfiber cloth. But at any rate, I would say it's a balanced look. You just want to be aware of that bezel and keeping it clean and taking care of it over the long term. Now, in terms of performance, certainly a lot of horsepower on board here with that Intel Core i7-8750H 6-core processor with 4.1 gigahertz boost frequency, as well as that NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1070 Max-Q design technology GPU with 8 gigabytes of GDDR5 memory. Here we're playing Middle-earth: Shadow of War, 1080p resolution with high image quality settings, and as you can see, we're pulling right around, we're going to pull actually about 86 frames per second, pulling about 80 frames per second right now, but certainly this machine is up to this game title at 1080p high image quality, or ultra image quality settings for that matter, and 1440p as well. In fact, why don't we show you a little bit of 1440p action. Here we are, Middle-earth: Shadow of War again, 2560 by 1440 now, high image quality settings. We are pushing north of 50 frames per second. We were up above 60 a few seconds ago, but again, totally playable in this game title at 1440p, high image quality settings, Middle-earth: Shadow of War. And checking in with our heroine Lara Croft and Rise of the Tomb Raider. Here we're playing again at 1080p resolution, high image quality settings, the DX12 code path, and we're going to push about 90 frames per second in this game title, so plenty of horsepower there as well for 1080p or 1440p gameplay. In fact, this machine almost holds up to 4K gaming with Rise of the Tomb Raider at, again, 3840 by 2160 resolution, high image quality settings with the DX12 code path selected. It actually pushes about 38 frames per second with mins around 28 frames per second, so almost playable. And finally, a little bit of 3D mark time spy here. We're going to score about 5100 to 5200 3D marks in this test, and really only about 3 to 5% variability in any test run we've performed so far in benchmarking, and so very little thermal throttling, thermal saturation with this machine, very little variability between benchmark scores from our extended testing so far. So impressed with the thermal solution on board the Alienware M15. Let's give you a listen to those fans. So as you can hear, they're certainly audible, but not offensively so. So a reasonable acoustic profile as well to go with this cooling solution. Impressive performance, the Alienware M15, beautiful display, great build quality. Now when it comes to battery life, our Alienware M15 lasted about 5.5 hours in our HD video loopback test here at HotHardware.com. And when you consider a 15-inch notebook with a 4K display, that's actually pretty respectable. Alienware claims about 10 hours of battery life with the 1080p enabled version of the notebook. And of course, when gaming, you're going to get a lot less battery life, but on integrated graphics and streaming HD video, you can expect about 5.5 hours for the 4K display, closer to 10 hours for the 1080p display. It just depends on how many pixels you need and that battery life trade-off that you want to make. So there you have it, the all-new Alienware M15 15-inch gaming notebook, $1,379 entry-level price. However, as tested, a little on the pricey side to be sure, $2,550 for the 4K display option with Intel Core i7-8750H 6-core processor, NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1070 Max-Q GPU, 16 gigs of RAM, and again that dual 512 gig NVMe solid-state drive configuration, 2 storage drive configuration. So loaded for bear at $2,550. But make sure you stop by HotHardware.com for our full review with all the benchmark details and analysis. Hit thumbs up and subscribe if you like this video, and tune into our channel for more tech product review goodness and our always entertaining 2.5 Geeks webcast. We go live on Wednesdays at 5:30. I'm Dave Altavilla for Hot Hardware with the Alienware M15 15-inch gaming notebook. Thanks for stopping by.